Nikhil, Arora. I lead GoDaddy in India. Just a brief background. Before GoDaddy, I launched a co-working space company called WeWork in Asia. Some of you may have been familiar. It's a New York-based startup, basically, which was literally doing what Airbnb did in hospitality. And before that, I used to run a company called Intuit, which had products like QuickBooks and TurboTax. Today, the topic I'm speaking about is customer innovation and brand innovation. And innovation is a very complicated term, and I think if you start defining what is innovation, it can lead on to various definitions, whether it relates to product, whether it relates to people, whether it relates to process. But one thing is certain, right? All of us, whether we are running large companies or small businesses, the pace of transformation is happening so fast. With all the startups coming out of the garages, all the investor money going in valuation, that we have a tremendous challenge and an opportunity to actually use this transformation and use innovation to our advantage to not only redefine ourselves but also redefine our companies. So what I wanted to do today was briefly talk about two things, right? One is, how do you build an organization around innovation? And secondly, how do you kind of create the right processes to actually nurture that innovation? I'm going to try to stay away from a lot of technical jargon around innovation, because I personally believe innovation is at the grassroots level, which is really your customers and employees. So I'm going to try to share very basic examples you guys can perhaps take back, or at least some of those I've learned. But before that, I just wanted to give you a quick background on GoDaddy. How many of you are familiar with GoDaddy? Actually, the marketing person works at our company. So I just wanted to kind of give you a background on GoDaddy, on what we do globally, what our reach is, what's our strategy, and then really try to bring in GoDaddy examples. Not that I'm trying to be a salesperson for GoDaddy, but it'll be good for you guys to actually be able to see what I talk about with a relevant example. So GoDaddy, our mission and vision, and we talked about interesting definitions of mission and vision from my previous colleague here. Our vision is to radically shift the global economy towards life-fulfilling independent ventures. So essentially, today we have 17 million customers globally. We have about 73 million domains under management. So literally every second in the world, somebody is actually calling to either buy a domain from GoDaddy or actually renew a domain from GoDaddy. So the history of the company goes back to Bob, who started the company. This is literally 20 years ago. And talking about innovation, there's one interesting example Bob used to use. He used TV advertising to such an advantage that increased the market share of GoDaddy 20% within 1 month's time. What happened was he actually, back around Super Bowl, which some of you may be familiar with, one of the largest football league of the US, he had created 2 TV commercials. And when the first TV commercial got aired in one of the Super Bowls, it was so controversial that the network actually called him to say, we're going to actually pay you to take it out. So we're not going to air the second one, but we are going to take the first commercial out, and we're actually going to write you a check. And for the next 3 weeks, Bob was doing a press tour explaining what happened, right, on that commercial, why it was good or why it was controversial. And essentially, because of that, within a month's time, the market share went up 20%. So the lesson in marketing from Bob for us, our company, was that sometimes controversy is good if it's good controversy, as far as you use it in moderation, but it draws attention, right? So GoDaddy has been always on the kind of the edge of good humor, good controversy, but yet not pushing the limits. So innovation is, again, a functional thing as well. Dial forward now, GoDaddy in India. We came here about 5 years ago. We today have 750,000 customers. Literally, every minute we're talking to 3 customers. We have a care center. We have about 4,000 calls a day we receive. So if you translate on an hourly basis or on a minute basis. We're talking to 3 customers every minute. In terms of the products, what we do, first is really we help you find your digital identity, right? Many of you may already own domains here. So the first step when you think of an idea is like, okay, what domain name do I get? And then how do you bring your domain name and your idea to life, right? That's where we have products around web hosting and presence and online store. And then also productivity tools like business applications and emails and so on. So in a nutshell, 5 years in India, we are the leading market share both on .in and .com. And looking forward, our focus is really around how do we just not help customers in finding the digital identity, but actually taking them along the journey. So talking about innovation, right? There's a very famous saying in Silicon Valley, and I'm just using it very carefully and metaphorically. So say, God created Earth in 7 days and 7 nights because He did not have a legacy technology and He did not have an installed customer base. So essentially, many of you who may be running large companies are actually facing that challenge of when you see now we've gone from desktop to mobile to now artificial intelligence. Literally 500 million gadgets are being produced every day around the world. So if you look at the macroeconomic factors, the pace of transformation is so fast that it's hard to keep pace with. And secondly, if you look at India today, right, especially for the industry we are in, internet penetration, 9 out of 10 future internet users are actually going to come from non-English speaking states, right? Next 300 million internet users are actually going to be non-English speaking. They could be Hindi, they could be regional languages, right? So that poses a very interesting challenge around innovation and how do you kind of build your business model around it. So if you think about, customer-driven innovation, right, which is one of the topics I want to talk about. And I think there was an interesting talk about McDonald's mission statement and so on. How many of you actually know a difference between a missionary and a mercenary?